Recently, in a meeting with Zelensky, Trump floated what seemed like a crazy idea. He said, maybe we should just build a tunnel or a bridge connecting the United States and Russia. Zelensky looked stunned. He said he didn't like it. Of course, he didn't. Watch this.
This came up yesterday, a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. That's an interesting. What do you think of that, Mr. President? Do you have any ideas? How do you like that idea?
I'm not happy with this.
I don't think you're going to like it. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it.
No, he certainly did not like it. Imagine if America and Russia were trading instead of fighting. If we were building together instead of bombing each other's proxies, a lot of people in Washington and Kiev would suddenly have a lot less power and a lot less money. But here's the thing. This idea isn't new. It's called the Bering Strait Project, a proposal to connect the 70 miles between Alaska and Russia, literally linking the continents of North America and Eurasia. And engineers have talked about it for decades. Some estimates say it could be built for around $8 billion and finished in 8 years. Elon Musk's Boring Company has even been mentioned as a possible builder long before Trump ever brought it up. One man had already been promoting that vision, Lyndon LaRouche. Back in the late 1970s, LaRouche was already talking about connecting the continents, turning geopolitical rivals into economic partners. His wife, Helga Zepp LaRouche, has carried that vision forward through the Schiller Institute, arguing that peace through development is the only way to end the cycle of endless war. Joining me now is the founder of the Schiller Institute, Helga Zepp LaRouche, someone who's been advocating this exact project for decades. Helga, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, nice to be here.
Okay, you've been talking about the Schiller Institute, your late husband, yourself been talking about this Bering Strait for a long time. Tell us what the importance of this would be. What would the use be for this bridge or tunnel or just a connection between the two nations? What would it be used for? What would the importance be?
It has importance on many levels. One naturally is that if the two largest nuclear powers would switch from confrontation to cooperation, this would be a game changer in the immediate strategic situation, which I think we are on the edge of a catastrophe. And it would be a bridge between the two continents, the Americas. It would connect the Americas with the Eurasian landmass, and potentially through the Strait of Gibraltar, where a tunnel is being planned. Also, it would connect to Africa. So it would have an enormous strategic importance, but I think more importantly, it would really be a game changer to end the era of hovering at the edge of a potential World War III and start really a period where a new paradigm in international relations could seriously be built. So I think this is of the highest importance. Now, the economic side of it is also incredible, because once you connect um, the Americas with Russia and the whole Eurasian continent, it would open up enormous investments, because it would not just be a transport line between A and B, but it would be a corridor, an economic corridor where you would have highways, railways, energy production and distribution, communication. And that way it would open up the vast areas of the Far East of Russia for economic investments. Now, in the last several years, the Vladivostok East Economic Forum always featured investments in the Far East, in Siberia. Much of this area is under permanent frost conditions, therefore it's not so easy. But once you open it up through infrastructure, it would give access to all the elements in the periodic table of Mendeleev, that is, all the raw materials. And that's why Putin has offered many times in the past that also other countries could invest in this area, countries which are poor of raw materials, who are poor of energy. And it would really be an unbelievable investment possibility, leading to enormous economic prosperity for everybody who is participating in it. So I can only hope, that the people around the Trump administration who are businessmen for the large part can prevail in seeing the economic benefit apart from the strategic calming down effect this would have.
Right now, how are goods moved? Are goods moved at all between Russia and the United States in this 70-mile stretch? I mean, are they shipped over, or is it just not even being used at all? Do we know?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understood your question.
Well, right now, because we don't have that bridge, we don't have a tunnel or a bridge connecting these 70 miles between the two countries. I would imagine that once this is built, there would be, like you're saying, there would be a lot of trade. These raw materials would be traded. There would be a lot of movement. But I mean, what's stopping them from? Are they doing anything now? I mean, are they at least shipping it? You know, like getting to the edge of Russia and being like, load the boats, and then the boats go to Alaska and then they land in Alaska. I mean, are they doing anything at all right now? Or is this, and it's just like, well, shipping is really slow and you can't, obviously if you have a bridge or lines, you can move things a lot faster. Are they loading the boats right now and like sail them off 70 miles? Or is it just, we don't even trade with them because of our hostility?
Well, I don't think that the particular Bering Strait is being used right now because it's not, you cannot just travel over there by ship or so. There are no developed port facilities. And in general, the sanctions which now have been imposed on Russia just now against the oil companies, that's all going in the wrong direction. This is why to change the strategic outlook in terms of these two countries cooperating on something which would be a true game changer, it would completely turn upside down the present relationship towards one of building trust, building mutual cooperation, building bridges and tunnels. Yesterday, we had a very important seminar on the topic where we had the top people from the United States and the Russian side participating in our panel. I think if you would put the link under this show, it would be very beneficial for people to watch it because we had Ras Begin, who was the deputy head of the SOPS in Russia for many, many years. That's the institution for investment between the Academy of Science and the Economic Ministry. And they, for many decades, were developing, ideas about this. And very importantly, between the United States and Russia, they started to update a feasibility study this April, that's 6 months ago, which means that both sides have pursued this policy with a steady interest. So one can only hope that, that despite the present incredibly, the thing which drives everybody a little bit crazy right now, including myself, I have to admit, yesterday when we had the seminar, I was really optimistic that, this will go ahead because I think underneath President Trump wants to end the wars. He said in his election campaign many times he wants to improve the relationship with Russia. Today, I'm a little bit more shaken up again because if the permission is given to the Ukrainians to use long-range missiles against Russia, deep into the territory of Russia, Ryabkov, the deputy foreign minister of Russia, who is a very calm and collected person and not shooting off his mouth like former President Medvedev often does, he said, if this is continued, we soon could end up in a head-on collision between two nuclear powers. Now that has to be taken very serious. Likewise, the head of the foreign intelligence of Russia, Sergei Narishkin, 2 days ago said that they have evidence that the NATO countries in Europe are preparing for a war with Russia by just increasing the production in military and incredibly rearmament. I think we are really in a terribly dangerous moment. And I don't think that everybody who is listening just to the mainstream media can appreciate that. But, I can only say that if we do not get off this road of confrontation, this may end civilization pretty
Yeah.
soon. And therefore, the Bering Strait project would be like the biggest symbol for peace through development. Both sides would have an incredible benefit. Soon, if you imagine a map, soon when this tunnel would be built, and people were saying it could be in 8 years ready. Um, Soon you could travel from the southern tip of Argentina and Chile with a fast train system all the way up through Latin America, Central America, North America, Canada, Alaska, into Russia, to Gibraltar, then from there into Africa. And that would be the strongest signal, that humanity is growing together to be one. And I think, if you think about the longer arc of history, it's not natural that we would solve problems through war. I mean, we are not small children, kicking each other's knee and saying, you have stolen my toy and I have the right to hit you over the head. I mean, that kind of behavior is not worthy of the dignity of man and the fact that we are the only creative species, at least known so far in the universe. We have not found anybody else other than the human beings who are capable of creative reason. And therefore, I think every great thinker I know of, sooner or later, or many of them, developed the idea that eventually we will develop to be one community of human beings, the one
Mhm.
mankind. For example, Friedrich List, who was a German economist, who is very, a proponent of the so-called American system of economy, who was in the United States. He, basically wrote many books about the difference between the American system of economy and the British system of economy. He had this beautiful idea uh, that at one point in history, when all of mankind would be connected through infrastructure, this would then also be the economic basis for a community of mankind. And I think that that is exactly what we are within reach. We could have that in 20, 30 years. We could be
Yeah.
connected through tunnels and bridges between all the continents. This is a plan we proposed in 2014. We called it the New Silk Road Becomes the World Land Bridge. And we published that immediately after Xi Jinping had proposed the New Silk Road. We updated our economic development plans and put it out. And I think we are very close to accomplishing that. And the only
Mm.
thing which could come in between is a nuclear war. Wouldn't that be a shame?
Wouldn't that be a shame? Oh, just a little thing called a nuclear war. Okay, I just looked it up, and there are no ships going back and forth between the USSR, I mean, Russia and Alaska, nor was there ever really, because apparently there's a lot of extreme weather, sea ice. The strait is covered by thick ice during the winter and the spring, which blocks most of the shipping lanes, makes transit impossible. So we've got a couple of things with that connection, which is only 70 miles. And you're right. How incredible would it be to go all the way from the tip of Argentina, travel all the way up, go over to Russia, travel. You could go down to China, you could into Asia, you could go over to Europe, then you can make your way down to Africa. You could end up in South Africa and never even get on a plane. And there would absolutely be people who do this. There will be people that sign up and say, we're doing a road trip. We're going to drive all around the world and hit all the continents except, of course, Australia and Antarctica. But that what an amazing thing that would be to connect the world that way. But it looks like there's a couple of things that are the problem. Obviously, there's the weather and the ice and those issues, which is why the tunnel would solve that problem. Which, like you said, 8 years to build, not long to get that done. I mean, geez, they build highways slower than that here in the United States. And the other thing it would do, the other issue that we have is the tense relationship between what was the USSR and now Russia and the United States. Just that tense relationship has halted or prevented this project from happening at every turn. But um, I wish that the people in Washington, I mean, one of the reasons, and you know this better than anybody, one of the reasons why we continue to have endless war is because we have an enormous military industrial complex with an enormous amount of money to be made with war. So they keep pushing towards war because war makes money. But the great thing about this Bering Strait is you could convince business people actually, there's more money not being at war with Russia. There's more money being in business with Russia than there is being at war with Russia. And if we built this strait and started opening up all the business and the trade, I think then the business people, I mean, this is why we're not at war with China and why we're not doing proxy wars with China yet. And I don't know if we will, because there's just too many business investors in China, American businesses, for them to be booted out of China, if we went to war with China, for them to be booted out. I mean, these business people, the administration can talk tough, but the business people say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now you're getting into my business, and they lobby against anything that's any sort of war or proxy war with China. They don't want to see it because of all those business ties. The problem is we don't have those types of business ties with Russia. But if we built those business ties, and if we had a deep ingrained business relationship with Russia, it'd be really damn hard to go to war with them. Business people would freak out. And we all know the money lobbies win. Right now, unfortunately, it's the military money lobby. It's the weapons money lobby. They're winning on that. But in the future, especially if we get this idea done and this strait built, in the future, it very well could be, the money coming from business and trade, and that outweighs the war. And this is an idea you at the Schiller Institute, your late husband, all of you have been talking about this for a long time. And now, I mean, you've got to be somewhat excited. I know that they're talking about war and all of this, but they've been doing that for a long time. At least it feels like maybe closer towards actually seeing the building of this Bering Strait. I mean, wouldn't that be incredible? You might see it in your lifetime.
Well, I think if President Trump wants to assert him being the president, it could start tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, there was so much hope now that there would be a summit between President Trump and President Putin in Budapest, and Prime Minister Orban
Right.
from Hungary already mobilized. He already put everything in preparation, and now it seems to be canceled. Then Trump put on his Truth Social, it's fake news, but it's very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to differentiate between fake news, vacillations in what Trump is saying, because he does say opposite things during one day. I mean, one cannot deny that that's going on almost every day.
Yeah.
So I would the problem is also, that Trump, I think, is one thing, but he is surrounded by people, even in his own cabinet, like Besant, who comes from a background. He was making his career with George Soros. He doesn't like China. Rubio is a former neocon. I hope he's not anymore, but maybe he is. So there are all these complications. But, I just would wish that Trump asserts himself and goes back to his initial intention to improve relations with Russia. I mean, he wants to have the Peace Nobel Prize. If he would say, we are going to build the Bering Strait, basta, I'm the president. And, yesterday we had in this show the top people from the US side and from the Russian side. We had the deputy chairman, deputy CEO of the Russian Investment Fund. Now that's big. This is Kirill Dmitriev. He was in Alaska, in Anchorage, at the meeting, and he sent his deputy to attend a panel of, in this case, the Executive Intelligence Review, which is our news agency,
Mm-hmm.
And he participated. Dmitriev will go in the next several days to a huge investor meeting in Saudi Arabia with I think they have 250 sessions on different types of investments. There will be countries from the Gulf states, the Emirates, Saudi Arabia. These are all countries which have enormous sovereign wealth funds. They could invest in this and, single-handedly bring the world away from the edge of a financial blowout. They could restart the physical economy. And I think, it is, as you say, it has such an incredible economic potential because, I mean, even the people who are sitting in the military industrial complex in Wall Street and the Pentagon in Silicon Valley, I mean, what do they gain if they blow up the world? Because if it comes to nuclear war, that's the end. There is a
Right.
theory right now you can have a little nuclear war, that you can win a tactical nuclear war. We will have an IPC meeting, that's the International Peace Coalition meeting tomorrow, with probably the world best economic rocket scientist, nuclear scientist, Ted Postol, who has written all the top standard books on the difference between nuclear war and conventional war. And he has, proven many times over that once you start to use only one nuclear weapon, it is the logic of nuclear war that all will be used. And he says that in 5 days, you will have a global nuclear war, no matter where you started. So I think that's what we are, looking at. And there are many military experts who share that concern, who think that we are in a situation far more dangerous than during the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So that would be ending civilization. So what does it do you good if you make $1 trillion and you have contributed to the end of civilization? I think, that doesn't help even those who make that trillion. So
Right.
I think it's very important that we really get away from that and, go in the way of cooperation. It's the only sane way to go.
Unfortunately, we're run by idiots. But we do have that link down below to the executive intelligence review. You did a yesterday, Wednesday, October 22nd, an emergency international roundtable discussion. Really interesting. I did watch part of it. That link is down below for people to watch. A lot of guest speakers discussing really what the future should be when it comes to the Bering Strait Tunnel project. So very interesting watch there. We do have that link down below. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.